We're ready. Are we rolling on one? Have you started?
Did you know that this is the first time in the history of this podcast that you are sitting down now?
I sit down every podcast.
I know. I'm saying we always start with you sitting and then I come from the camera. And you know what? We're mixing it up.
Good.
We're mixing it up. See how I did that? I came away. You know when singers be killing it when they're like, Did you watch the Grammys, by the way?
I did not.
I didn't either.
I along with Eminem boycotted the. I didn't even know.
I did not watch the Grammys, dude. I haven't watched the Grammys in years. It's been a long time since I was like, ooh, the Grammys are on. Same thing with the Academy Awards. I just haven't. It's too busy, I guess. Too tired. 8:30 p.m. start time.
I stopped watching it. I lost interest because I kind of realized that it has nothing to do with talent per se. It was a popularity contest. And I'm just like, nah, this is not an indication of what's good and what's not. It used to be this perception. It's like if you won Grammy of the Year, it's because you had the best album of the year.
Well, they still have those awards, but it's like who is the Academy and who is the panel that are making these
It's
these
made
decisions?
up of them. It's made up of the artists.
Is it really?
It's the community.
Oh, so
you can sign, like you can be on that whole thing, like the group freaking the votes or whatever. They have the whole Academy or whatever the heck in that panel. You can be on the list or whatever.
Wow. I wonder what the criteria is to be considered to be on a panelist, you know?
Well, and almost anybody could submit to be on the Grammys as well. To be at least nominated.
I see.
So the nomination is kind of like, yeah, it's cool or whatever, but it's not that big of a deal because it's like the bar is much lower for you to get nominated. You submit your music or whatever, and then if
you're talking about just it's not that big of a deal to get on the ballot.
Yeah.
I feel like that is kind of a big deal. They can't just let anybody on there.
Well, it's that, but it's like the measurement of like, are you recognized enough to be like, okay, we'll vote on that one.
Yeah.
So it's not that you have to have the best of the best. The nominations, of course, are a little lower.
Yeah.
In terms of that stuff, but I stopped. I don't know. I stopped caring. It used to be this perception where, I mean, a long time ago when we were growing up, they probably still sell it. The Grammy, it would be a Grammy album, and it would be all the things
winners
that were nominated and the winners on one CD or whatever. And it would be like the 50th Grammy, whatever, and you'd have all the greatest songs of that year. I don't know if they still do that.
I'll tell you what they're still doing is, now that's what I call Music 78.
Are they?
Yeah, I saw one recently. I was like, they're still doing that?
I didn't realize that.
Now that's what I call music. That was like, for me, that's like middle school. You know, middle school and high school. It's like, dude, that had all the bangers on there. Everybody dance now. That's when I remember. That's the era I remember that. Do you remember Jock Jams? You ever listen to the CD, that compilation called Jock Jams?
I know what you're talking about.
It's all the stadium anthems, dude.
To the Jock Jams.
Yeah, no, it had Michael Buffer in the beginning. Bling,
oh, that's cool.
Bling. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the main event, that whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah, Jock Jams, dude.
And then his brother's the one doing it now? That does it for UFC?
Buffer, yeah, there's another Buffer.
Yeah, it's like Bruce, I think.
He's bigger,
like
and
Michael
Buffer.
And Bruce. Yeah.
The Buffer version is doing the UFC stuff.
I got trademarked that whole thing. Like, I don't think anyone else could say, let's get ready to rumble like that.
Dude, I watched this great video. Speaking of things like that, you're not allowed to... it was one of those internet social media style, now this, we talked about it recently, that kind of thing. And it was the one of the original sound designers for Apple. When he was making all of the original Apple sounds that your computer would make. So the startup sound, the zoom, that whole thing. The camera shutter that's actually now being used for the iPhone. This poor guy, he seemed so defeated. You have to look, I'll show it to you the video later. But they interviewed him and he's like, yeah, I was at Apple from X year to X year. And this is the keyboard I used to make these sounds and boom, boom, boom. And they're like, so you must be just rolling in the royalties. He's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. He doesn't own any of that crap. And he's like, every time somebody takes a photo on an iPhone near me, I'm like, that's my camera. I'm like, man, it's wild. It's wild. But yeah, and he mentioned like the NBC theme. He's like, there are some things you just can't, it's a C major chord, a little triad, but you can't use that now. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh yeah, and that stuff. Yeah. The composition.
Like the whole trademarking thing. It's like, what else is trademarked? You know,
I don't know what
so
the rules
much.
are. Like I wanted to be educated on that as far as like, so
Yeah.
you got 3 notes. It's like, is that the minimum then? Because there's no way. Come on, man. Are you gonna trademark 2 notes?
I don't know.
Like ding ding. If you do those, it's like, no, that's mine now from now on. Like, there's gotta be a minimum standard for that stuff, or else you just
Who
never
knows?
would make
I feel
music
like-
ever again.
I feel like, yeah, right? No joke.
You wouldn't.
You'd think that the typical chord progressions in songs, you know, they'd be coming after that next. You know, it just seems so ridiculous, some of the stuff they're trying to get copyrighted.
Yeah, it is, and I don't get it, because at some point you feel like, how I put it, I'm stammering here because I'm trying to explain. Music is infinite, right? There's like an infinite in a number of things, but this like it kind of isn't at the same time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it infinite? Are we going to get to a point one day where every note has been played in some kind of rhythm and succession of pitch?
Because yes,
we're going to
keep
run
those
out.
keys going for whatever. But audible music, I'll put it that way. Audible music is finite.
Yeah.
There is, at some point you can't hear that note anymore.
Sure.
You literally don't have the capacity, like a frequency or whatever. So
Yeah.
you've got all these keys that you can hit. It's like 88 on a full piano, whatever, right? Something like that. And at some point you're gonna. And the thing is, if you know about the piano or any chord progression at all, they repeat. It's do re mi fa sol la ti do. That's it. In different, what do you call this? Modulations.
Different scales and different modes, as they say, different modes.
Yeah, the whole tonic and dominant. I mean, it's defined.
Yeah, I feel like at one point we're going to get to, I mean, I
think we're there already.
A lot of old people will say that we're already there, where it's like, everybody's copying everybody, but it's like, at some point, it's like when I was growing up learning how to play the drums. Very passionate. I just, and all I could do as a musician was listen to the music that I liked to listen to the drummers that I enjoyed, and I emulated that style. So I listened to, a lot of like rock music, alternative music, a lot of hip hop music, a lot of R&B music, and so I kind of gravitated towards that style of playing. And it's like, everything I do, you sit me down on a drum set today, I'm gonna play, I would hope I would play a lot of original sounding stuff, but it all has come from before. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's a Carter Beauford lick right there from Dave Matthews Band. Oh yeah, he did that. Okay, yeah, I see it. It's all been done before. Is what I'm trying to get to. It feels that way sometimes. It's all been done.
You always see the influence. I forgot who was the musician or whatever, or the singer. Somebody said something like to the effect of, it took me years to sing like the people I grew up listening to, and then it took me like decades to sing like myself.
That's what I always gravitate towards these days with music, is somebody that shines through all that other crap. It's like somebody who has such a unique sound. And I feel like we're still getting some unique sounds. And maybe we'll just narrow it down like singers. Let's just say singers. People that use their voice as their instrument. I feel like every once in a while, those generations have their talent. It's like, wow, that guy doesn't sound like anybody before him. It's like I listen to Sam Smith comes to mind. I hear Sam Smith's sound and I go, man, I've never heard a voice that sounds like that. The timbre, the richness, how he does certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I think the people that resonate, at least for people that love music for real, as far as, and I say that, let me what do you call that? Let me validate that statement. That love music for like the content itself, the lyrical content and stuff like that. I think the ones that rise and shine through everything are the ones that are aware, that kind of can speak to the real world, and they connect. You're talking about real life. Because everybody can do a melody, everybody can have a catchy beat and stuff like that. But the ones that stick out is like, man, that guy's talking about my life. It's the same exact experience. And I think the truth always rises to the top.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
Well, that's the human experience, man. And when songwriters can kind of jack into that a little bit, to these universal feelings that we've kind of all been through, that's where the special happens.
Yeah, no, you will not lose telling the truth.
Yeah.
You won't. The law of averages is going to be in your favor. Like you're going to go.
You mentioned it recently about visual storytelling, or maybe not visual storytelling, but just storytelling in general. There's only how many stories?
Oh, what is it? I think it's 7 or something like that.
There's only
like
7 stories. I think that's the number.
Something like that. It's like that or less.
Yeah. There's only 7 stories you can tell.
Like the story of the hero, the story of overcoming your childhood. I forgot what they are. but there is, and you can look at any story ever told, and it's like it'll fit into these kind of
And there, of course, there are variations and shades of gray.
They'll blend.
That's right.
A little bit of romantic and you know, you see it, romantic comedy, stuff like that. Those aren't the categories. It's something else. It's like a philosophical thing, like the story of overcoming the giant and the story of this.
When was the last time like a new genre of music emerged? I wonder. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder when that last true, like, new genre of music.
Yeah, I don't know.
emerged.
I mean,
That's
blends
an interesting
blends.
It's like when, you know, jazz was, you know, that. But you know what's funny though? Now that I talk about it out loud, everything took things from the past. Like everybody kind of took what came before and, like you said, blended it up and did a little spin on it. So it's like, man, was there ever any original genre of music? You know what I mean? It's like, where did rock come from? You know, where did
it's
funk
funny.
and blues and all these kinds of things?
I can speak to just my own experience in culture. It's like everything, we can trace it all back to Africa. The drums in Africa and stuff like that, and those rhythms. It's funny, even the dancing. It's like, you know, in Puerto Rico, you think salsa and stuff, you made that up. It's like, go to Africa and you see them dancing the same way. You add a little flavor when you get to the island and stuff like that, but a lot of those moves and stuff, it's like, it's there. You see it there first. It's funny because what science tell us, that life originated in Africa. That's like what things point to.
Cradle of civilization. And it's crazy you mentioned the rhythm. I think that's probably what came first in terms of musical history. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But you know, you always hear of the primal, those drums, man, and it was all that rhythm. Maybe that's where a lot of this.
That'd be interesting.
Started.
Like, what's the first instrument ever created?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? I think it had to be a drum.
It'd have to be.
You'd have to
some
be.
Dude dropped
percussion,
a big stick on a
smacking
stone.
Something, yeah.
And it's like, oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're have the romantic, poetic idea that the voice was the first instrument.
When I did training at Little Creek, I did a lot of musical training there for the Armed Forces School of Music, and I had this really awesome instructor. He was this Army guy. Bob Habib was his name, and he turned me on to the magical world of Latin music and all of these rhythms that are like the foundations of all these different subgenres of Latin music. You know, your songo, your bossa nova, you know, all these kind of, you know, these the cascara, that kind of thing. And I was just so blown away by how cool it was. And I just had no idea the importance of all of these musical genres and the history of it and learning about it, and then getting the opportunity to learn how to play it and just you know, dip your little toe in, you know, into the pools and just go, wow, this is crazy. I mean, people devote their whole lives to trying to perfect this style of rhythm and to get it to feel right. You know, so I later in life I've gotten more into trying to understand and appreciate different kinds of music. Is there a style of music that you just can't get into?
Probably that super deep throaty screaming. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That I don't get it. It's not for me, clearly.
Yeah, it's not for me either.
But I got a wide range of likes. Just because where we're from and stuff like that. But I just like a lot of different music. I like my first, probably like up top is I like classical. I like Mozart. It's like some of my favorite stuff. Him specifically is just wild music. And I always wonder sometimes too, it's like, what happened to the age of the musician as far as that? What happened to the age of the composer? Maybe I'm just not in the right circle.
It's still happening. There's still many composers out there that are composing classical music. I mean, the classical scene is still around. It's obviously not as mainstream as it used to be. That's when that was it. That was the only thing that was mainstream was back then, was orchestral kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, it's still happening. Cool story. Speaking of that, to go right along with that classical music, you'd appreciate this. There was a Marine officer that was in charge of me up at Washington, D.C. His name is Brian Dix. And Brian composed, you know, for the most part, almost all the music that the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps performed. And I was fortunate enough to help out and help write the percussion parts and compose that stuff. And so I worked with him pretty closely. And he's been retired for a while now, but he's in California, and he just wrote a a piece of music that honored, I think it was women in the military, I think. Or it was, I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, he wrote this recent piece of music, and it was just really cool because then he went and got all female performers from every branch of service and all the musical organization. They all came together. It looked like a Zoom meeting, and they all recorded to a click track clearly, and they performed his piece. And it was dedicated to them. So it was really, really cool to see. So, I mean, it's still happening.
That was recent?
Mm-hmm. It's very recent. Last couple of months.
Well, it's funny because this month is the whole Women's History Month. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of stuff, videos and content be made around that stuff.
That's cool. You like classical music, man. I could dig on some classical music too.
I like it a lot.
For sure.
We went to, I think I mentioned this before. We went to Chrysler Hall to see the Amadeus live. The Virginia Symphony Orchestra played it and killed it. It's awesome.
VSO is very good.
That music cuts through your body. It's wild.
It's something about live orchestral music is pretty cool, dude.
No, it's pretty emotional. Freaking cool. It's emotional. It's hard to. It's not the same as TV.
No,
it's not at all. You go sit in front of those instruments, and when those strings are getting played, like that cuts through your body, and it's like wow,
that big ass concert bass drum.
Like if you don't at least get like goosebumps listening to it, like I guess it ain't for you then. Like, but sitting down, I was like, wow, this is like an emotional experience.
Well, you know, it's funny. A lot of people don't realize it. Well, I'm sure they do realize it, but a lot of your for the most part, your film scores. Your Marvel Avenger movies, this is all orchestral music for the most part, man. All these big sweeping, Gone with the Wind, and then all these types of movies. It's all orchestra, man.
You know that theme from the Avengers and stuff, like when that comes on, like
yeah, man.
Nah, it's great.
Now, I was very fortunate. I got to perform in like symphony style orchestras like that throughout my musical career, and I always loved it, man. I always loved it. Concert percussion is a lot of fun, dude. Going back there and dinging triangles and tambourines and snares and big giant gong. Let me tell you something. I play the shit out of a gong. Warm it up too. Got to warm it up. You get those reverberations happening. Seriously, you have to warm it up a little bit before you hit it so that it just attacks. Because if you don't warm it up, if you don't get that thing vibrating, it's just like and then it comes out. But if you want that thing to just you got to warm it up. You're tickling it like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, man.
I played the violin for some years. I should
really?
I should have never put it down.
Oh, dude. That's cool. I didn't know that about you. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful, beautiful instrument.
Every now and then I think about picking it back up, but it's like one thing at a time. Sometimes I try to master too many things at once and don't really master any of it.
Yeah. Well, just do it for fun. Do it for fun.
Yeah. I was doing the guitar for a while, and it's like I gotta get back into it. COVID really threw that off like crazy because I was gonna go practice like once a month, and then COVID stopped all of that.
You said go practice? What do you mean? Like go?
Well, we meet up at church and practice.
Oh,
learn chord progressions and stuff like that, and I was getting pretty good. I think I still remember most of it, so that's good. But
that's nice.
That's a poor excuse anyway, because you should be practicing.
I was about to say, when COVID hit, I feel like a lot of people probably tried to pick up a skill or hobby.
Yeah, no.
I always wanted to play, if I could pick another instrument, I always wanted to play bass guitar. I always thought bass guitar was like so cool. Because, again, it kind of lives with the drums a little bit. You know what I mean? It's all about that rhythm and the feel and all that. And I always, whenever I listen to music, funk music, hip hop music, I always key into the drums and the bass line, man. Maybe I've always wanted to try to learn bass. I've known some very good bass players in my day. I will tell you that. I've known some sick bass players that I got to perform with.
Yeah, I started messing with the guitar because it's funny. Through church, I get to hang out with a lot of people that are older than me, and I hear a lot of them say, almost all of them will say, like, I wish I played an instrument. And I'm like, well, I'm 35 now. Maybe I should start now before waiting until I'm 60 to say I wish I played an instrument.
Another 30 years, dude. You got time.
Oh, yeah, no, easy. Well, yeah. I got time. We got time.
We're blessed with time, man. We are.
Oh, yeah.
We are.
So, changing gears completely.
Sure, come on.
I saw...
Switch it up, baby.
I saw that it was announced, and this is a subject that kind of I'm passionate about. I saw that Northam announced that 69,000 inmates are going to get their rights restored to vote.
I saw that today. I saw that on the old wavy.com Facebook page.
So I'm going to ask you this question because you might know the answer. What is the point? And I hate to frame it that way because I'm already giving you how I feel about it. But what is the point of removing a person's right to vote after they serve their time?
I mean, dude, come on. It's ridiculous.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Why that came up? No, but why that
I'm
might have come
why,
apart? Like
or
what,
not? Maybe not the why.
What was the thinking there with that?
I don't know. I'd
have to research that because
I'd have to. Yeah.
I'm real careful with as much as I judge. I'm real careful. Like I always like. You'll know this about me because you've seen it in business. I tend to blame myself before I go blaming other people. As much as I criticize and judge, which I do, I got to work on that. But I tend to look for fault in myself first before looking at others. So I'm like, what was the thinking there? Was there logical? Somebody sat down and said, listen, we got to cut their right to vote after this because what? I don't understand. If the sentence is a year.
You do your year.
And that's it. That is it. You move on.
Welcome back, and let's be better this time.
Because isn't, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the point rehabilitation? That's what we call it, right?
Right.
Is it rehabilitation or punishment? Because it's written in specific language. People are intentional with their words.
Like punishment.
It is punishment, and it's vindictiveness to say that after you do that, guess what? We're going to go after you for the rest of your life.
You can't have a high-paying job. You can't be in these industries. You can't do this.
Now, I will tell you this. For people that believe in that box, and we're talking about the box that says, are you a felon? For people that believe in the box, I will extend an olive branch and say this. We as business owners, we maybe don't have as much as other large corporations. This is not a secret. So if somebody was a felon and they got caught robbing a bank or they got caught robbing a pawn shop for all the camera equipment, I might find it beneficial to know that before hiring a person.
Of course.
I get that part. I understand that. But also I think the effect is worse than what we're trying to avoid, right? Like the outcome of that. Because to then deny somebody the means to move on with their life, I think is worse than the potential of being robbed. The potential of that.
That's an interesting conversation to have, man.
I think. If I had the choice to say get rid of the box, let people, because I say this, if we're worried about that box, we need to know, then make the sentences longer then. If that's what we're saying. And maybe I'm completely wrong and think, but that's the way my brain works. It's like, if we're saying that, a year or two after the fact, we still need to keep track and give them the scarlet letter that says, hey, I'm a felon, so be careful with me, then maybe the sentence was wrong to begin with. Maybe the penalty was wrong. Because I think once that penalty is paid, you move on with your life. And specifically the voting thing, I don't get it too much. And especially in the case of nonviolent offenders. It makes sense if you're a domestic abuser, then maybe you shouldn't have a gun. Some rights do get taken away. Like you have a problem with that,
right? I think it's a lot more complicated than a single little box. That's what happens when you try to take a very
what did you do, right? Like what was your felony?
Yeah,
because they're varying
complex
degrees. Whether you believe it or not, there are varying degrees of felonies, and not everybody that's a felon is an absolutely horrible person. They made a choice. I don't even like to call it a mistake. They made a choice that they might regret. That's it.
It's an interesting argument, dude.
You should be able to move on. We saw with Mike Vick. We saw with a number of people that would go to jail, do their time, community service, blah, 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 blah. And then we still want to stop them from earning and making a living. And when you do that, you have what's called recidivism. And you go right back to jail because guess what? If I can't find a job, I still got to eat. There's a need right now, which is kind of what I was thinking about with the whole COVID thing, and these stimulus checks is not a freaking secret. Everybody's supposed to, a lot of people will be getting checks. Good, because that money is not, it ain't a favor. That's your money anyway. Yeah. The government has no money. That is your money that's being managed however they see fit.
We tend to forget that, don't we?
The government does not produce money.
No.
It's this very simple concept. Every single dollar they have is a dollar you earned, and then they took a percentage out, and then they put it into an account and do whatever they want with it. So people are getting that money back, and I'm like, it just makes me think about, like, now they got people saying that, they're gonna go after your money for like debt collection and stuff like that, and it's a tough situation because why are you in debt? Well, how did that happen? Was it through COVID where you lost your job? Like, we're in a real complicated space right now.
There's so many different scenarios and unique cases here. You know what I mean? It's
I don't
so
understand
hard.
why the government isn't treated the way we are being treated. If I don't have the money, then I cannot buy it.
That's not how this government
What
operates.
is this whole trillions of dollars in debt about? What is this about? Like, it's just, and it's gone out of control and it'll never stop and we'll just be in debt forever.
Yeah, no.
That's just, that's never going to get, the United States of America will never have a balance of zero.
No.
It's not going to happen. I'm not an economist. Maybe somebody can explain that part to me.
Yeah.
Like, what's the end game here? It just never goes down. It never becomes zero. Like, that's just, I used to say, like, I used to feel that way. Like, at some point, when I worked at other places, I've brought this up several times to other organizations because I find this to be a common problem. I'm like, at some point, is your goal not to be number one? Because when we're making decisions, like, we should improve year over year, year over year. We should get better. Government-wise, we should get better every single year. At some point, is your goal not to be at zero? Because I never hear that discussed at all. Mm-hmm. So maybe I got to look that up. Why will we never be at zero?
I've seen it in the past where people will tout that, we knocked X amount of billions off of the debt or, lowered the debt by this, that, boom, boom, boom. I've heard it.
But you know what politicians are good at? Is if they planned on spending $100,000 and instead of spending $100,000, they spent 90, they will say that they saved the American people $10,000.
$10,000.
You saved nothing. You just used less. Like, you didn't save anything. It's just a war of words and
the war of words, man.
I don't know.
The age of spin, as Dave Chappelle says.
As Bill O'Reilly says.
Yeah.
The no spin
zone.
zone.
The no spin zone.
They spun him out of Fox.
And that's the show.
They spun him.
He's in an uncontrollable spin right now. But anyway.
No, that is nuts.
All right. Cool.
Other than that, not much is going on. I think the Women's History Month is interesting. Congratulations to all the women. You deserve it. This is cool.
I'll tell you
celebrated.
what. Tell you what. I look at my wife growing that beautiful baby boy of ours, and I'm just like, the human body is insane. It's just crazy what it can do. It's crazy.
And it happened on accident.
Crazy.
Not the baby, the human body.
I see what you're going at. Yeah, I see what you're going at. It's wild. It is crazy. I put my hand on her tummy, and every once in a while, it'll whoop. It's my son in there, man.
It's I do appreciate and I like where society has gotten as far as the respect that women deserve, and they're making strides still to improve this because it's still not 100% there yet. We know this. Mm-hmm. But it's cool as I've had to do different projects and celebrate different women in the office. They have all said the same thing. We can do the same job, and the point is you earn your respect by showing that you can do the same job. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. There are a lot of jobs that they can do to the same performance and not, if not better. Mm-hmm. I'm glad we grew up in the age we grew up in. Sometimes I think about that. Like, that's wild that we didn't grow up in the 1800s or the 1700s. Like, we chose to grow up in an amazing time in the history of humanity. And it's cool that we got to see that, we don't have the experience of as much as in previous generations where it's like you were just treated as property. Like, get back in the kitchen. Like that, I never experienced that. Now I'm a goof and immature and I might joke that way, but society has, at least this society I experienced over here, it hasn't been that bad like that. Like, for the most part, they're respected and it's like, can you do the job or not? That's it. Can you do it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I always fall back on with these kind of things. It's like, I wish, because this isn't the world we live in, but I wish it was where, and this is how Tsunami would operate. When we get to the point where we're getting pretty close to the point where we're bringing on a person or two, it's like, I could care less. I don't care if you're a man, a woman, what race you are, how old you are. Like, are you a good fit? And can you produce a great product? Can you know what I mean? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for performance, baby. I just want the best performance. Who's the best person for the job? And you know what I'm saying?
And this is, and
I wish we can get to that.
As far as that, it brings to mind like a broad statement here. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with it, just because it's super complicated, and I don't want anybody to think I'm stuck on one way or another. But it brings to mind that I wouldn't necessarily go out and look for, okay, we need a woman. Okay, we need a brown person. Okay, we need an Asian person. But I will say this. If you are fortunate enough to have a diverse team If that built itself organically because you found the best people, and the best people just so happen to be very diverse, I think it's great to mind them for their perspective, because there is cultural differences and there is stuff that a woman's going to see and somebody from a different culture is going to see different than you that might open your eyes, just because our experiences are different.
I think it's very important to...
Diversity is always great.
Yes, like
it's always
just
great.
jump head into it, man, and just I think it's good. And we talk about it. We've been overseas, and I've been plenty abroad. I've been all over the place. We've talked about it ad nauseum, but it's really cool to get in there with a bunch of different kinds of people with different mindsets and different opinions. I think that's one of the biggest problems with our country. I'm talking about the United States. Our country is like, I just feel like we've got these blinders on, and if you're not in my camp, I don't want to even hear from you. And I think that's a real freaking problem, man. So I love diversity, dude. It's just like, man, let's all get together. Everybody's got great ideas. Well, maybe not everybody's got great ideas, but everybody's capable of producing and being awesome. So I'm with it, man.
I think we've gotten to that point where
it's wild we're still talking about this in 2021. There's still the divide. Like, it's just like, when are we getting past it, man?
That's tough.
When are we getting past it?
That's tough because
it's a very complicated issue.
You fix it for this one group,
yeah, and
then 20 years from now it's a different group and it's a different subgroup.
It's a very complex issue. I understand that, but I think of it. It's not that complex, man. It'd be great to get to the point, ideally, in society where you don't have this preconceived thing where it's like, if you are left for a woman to do the job for you, you already think it might not be as good as if a man did it. It'd be great to get to the point where we're way beyond that, and it's just like, can you do it good or not? I think we'll get there. I think we're trending. I think if you look at American society just in the last 150 years, 100 years even, 50 years, we're heading there, man. I think we got a long way to go, but we're in the right direction.
Yeah,
I think we'll get there eventually.
I'm hopeful for it. I just paused because I think people are. I think forever and ever we will be judging and come up with assumptions based on our experience. I think that will never go away, and that's just with everything of society. Like, we know that there is a weird thing that if you have an experience with a group of people for a long time, if it's positive, you assume that the next time you see a person that identifies with that group of people, you're gonna have a positive experience. Just because the last people that was from that group, that culture or whatever, had a good experience. And I would never think that person, like, those people are always like that. And it's like, no, in every single group, humans are humans, and in every group, man, you're gonna run into people that are they're tough to deal with. I don't want to say that they're, I don't want to speak too negatively, because I think everybody's worthy of hope. Everybody has that potential to be great. But there's just some people that are just harder to deal with than others. It's just like, I'd rather not deal with that person at all. And it has nothing to do so much with
what they look like, or whatever, or what they sound like, or what gender they are. Who cares, man? I could care less.
Yeah, we're so blended. I get to tell anybody from direct experience. It's like, I've seen people just come in all shapes, colors, sizes from different cultures, and it's like, nah, there's a few in every group. They ain't one.
Jerks everywhere.
There's tough people to deal with in every single group. True. Doesn't matter, religious.
Well, we're humans, man.
Culturally, religiously,
we're all humans, dude.
Yeah, there is no we're all humans.
We're all humans, man. All right, I think it's a good place to end. What do you think?
Yeah,
we're gonna get there. We'll get there, humans. Don't worry. We're gonna be dragging some of you with us, though. I'll tell you what. By the hair. You're coming with us.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man.
All right.
Hey, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, sir.
Tsunami Digital Media, man.
We appreciate people.
We appreciate you guys.
On this side here.
We appreciate you. I'm Matt.
I'm Tony.
And this is the Tsunami Podcast. Fist bump. Beautiful.
Who the hell is
They're
blasting
jamming
music out there?
What a cookout out there.
How much I gotta pay to get some peace and quiet around?
Here's some logos. She sent me some. This is the. That's the thing we're filming today.